So, I mean, this is exciting. I mean, and again, people that are walking through the doors of our business that will not walk through the doors of a church. I call it busin-istry. I love it.
Yes,
I love it.
that.
It's busin-istry. And it's like God spoke to me, Lydia, about 3 years ago. I was coaching for about a year, and he said, I gave you the program for your health, but I gave you the business for your finance. I'm going to kind of flip the script here on business. I gave you the business for your finances, that you can go where you want to go, do what you want to do, and give you want to give to, and money will never be a question. Don't ask for it again.
What's some of the process that the reprogramming, the transformation that happens when people are trying to regain their health through your program?
Yeah, it's, approximately 82% of Americans that diet fail within a couple of years because first they don't have the support system. We provide personal health coach. Like if you were to go to the fitness gym and there's the ropes, there's the weights, there's the machines, et cetera, they're all there and you can utilize them. But if you're like, well, I'm not sure how that works and how this works and what's the best for me and so you can get a fitness trainer. And so that fitness trainer is going to show you how it works so you can be the most successful at those different opportunities. So we provide a health coach and they're going to walk you along because you can make the right choices with food. I have a lot of people that come into our program, like, I feel like I'm pretty healthy, I eat pretty healthy. But once they get on our program, they're like, I realize I'm not eating as healthy as I thought. Because I call this thing, this hole in the front of our face, it's the gateway to our body. And we still don't realize what we're putting in here. I have an amazing car sitting out there, outside the house, and it requires really high-grade fuel for me to get the performance out of it that I'm supposed to get. Most Americans, most people in the world, but even believers, they are really not taking care of this temple here. And what we're putting in it is actually destroying it. We don't understand what's happening to our blood sugars. We're mostly on carb comas all through the day. Hi, let me get a Monster up. Now I'm down in a coma. And I'm like, let me get a piece of pizza and a Coke. And then I'm down in the coma again. And so our adrenal glands, our blood sugars are all over the place. And so on our program, when you follow it, 5 days in the program, your blood sugars are leveled out. And then you go into what's called a gentle fat burn. And then your adrenal glands can kick into action and go, I can finally do what I was created to do because you ain't putting false energy in me. And they kick into action. And then they start burning off the deeper level carbs and sugars lying dormant in our body. They're called glycogens. For me, it was my hips, my belly, my butt, my thighs. And it would take, statistics show it will take you 90 minutes of hardcore working out every single day to target those glycogens that are lying dormant. And most Americans are putting somewhere between probably 3,500 to 5,000 calories a day in this thing right here, this gateway to their body, but they're only burning off maybe 2,000, 2,500. So you go to bed at night and all this stuff keeps stacking up and stacking up and stacking up. We don't go to sleep at night and all those extra carbs and sugars kind of melt out of our body and go out the window and into the ground. No, they begin stacking up, and then we find ourselves like, 71% of Americans are overweight or obese. And it's like, we have an epidemic far beyond the epidemic we've been going through in the last year and a half, far beyond. I mean, I could go in the whole diabetic epidemic. It's crazy. So, we actually provide a health coach and then also a private support community that people that have done all these other diets are like, oh my gosh, this community is amazing. Like, I never had this support. No wonder I couldn't succeed. So we don't coach them again to get the weight off, but now you've got it off. We're going to bring you through transition and to learning how to keep it off for longevity so that you can be the best you that you ever decided and wanted to be. And so, for my assistant Sonia, she was 53 pounds. She saw me doing it and she's like, oh my gosh, I got to do this like within a couple of weeks. And she got on the program, lost 53 pounds 4 years ago. Cholesterol dropped 40 points. I mean, we see people, we can't make 100% claim, but we see diabetics type 1 cutting their insulin in half. I got from one of our coaches in Maryland this morning, a meter reading, one of her clients in 8 days, her blood sugars, it's the meter reading, had gone from 300 to 138. And this is one of the cool things, like, we're coaching a Muslim guy. He's 36 years old, 3 young kids, amazing guy, and he was a type 1 diabetic. This was last summer, and within 4 days, he had cut out 4 of his 5 injections. And he's like, you saved my life. How does this work? And I'm like, you don't understand what you're putting in your mouth, okay? We're not taught that. It's all about this. It's all, whether it's fast food, groceries, it's dining, it's all about this. And so within 2 weeks, he goes to his doctor, and his doctor says, if you continue this direction, I'm taking off all your insulin. 2 months later, we're visiting him, and he's giving me hugs. This Muslim guy, you saved my life, you saved my life. Well, smoking his hookah, but you saved my life, And so, I mean, this is exciting. I mean, and again, people that are walking through the doors of our business that will not walk through the doors of a church. I call it busin-istry. I love it.
Yes,
I love it.
that.
It's busin-istry. And it's like God spoke to me, Lydia, about 3 years ago. I was coaching for about a year, and he said, I gave you the program for your health, but I gave you the business for your finance. I'm going to kind of flip the script here on business. I gave you the business for your finances, that you can go where you want to go, do what you want to do, and give you want to give to, and money will never be a question. Don't ask me for it again.
Amen.
And it's like, whoa. And you know what? If I want to go do this or do that, and please don't email me and write me and say, can I borrow $10,000? Because people do that. I tell you, we got orphans, and they just do that. It's like, oh my gosh, I had somebody the other day, like, hey, could you do this and everything? I'm like, no, I don't even know you. Can I get Sky Miles from you? Nope, I don't even know you. It's crazy what people do, but I love you. And anyway, and so if I want to fund my own assignment to, whether it's in Pakistan or Cuba or, we'll talk about Cuba here soon, but if I want to go wire, some money to a pastor tomorrow in Cuba to feed his kids because they don't have any food, they don't have any money right now, I don't have to check my checkbook. I can go do it. And God is like, I'm tired of the church not being able to complete their assignment because, well, I want to open an orphanage. Why don't you? Well, I don't have the money. Well, I really want to open up a home for women and children caught in human trafficking. Why don't I don't have the money? Well, I really want to start a church. I don't have the money. Well, I feel like God's calling me a missionary in this country. Why don't you? I don't have the money. Well, that's not God's problem. God does not give us dreams and purposes to not fulfill them. That is not God's problem. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hill. He wants to give us creativity in businesses. I just had a call this morning of another opportunity in business. And for me in my world, I'm like, I want multiple streams of income. Yes. So I love the way Leif put it, that you're making money while you're sleeping and you're not working for money, but money's working for you. When you are not working for money and money's working for you, that's real freedom. Amen. That's real freedom. And that's where we're at. That's where we want to go. And we just love being able to fund kingdom assignments here on this earth. Because I feel like that's one reason we haven't completed the Great Commission, because of lack of finances. Churches are asking for money. They're begging, well, we need to do this to our church. Well, we don't have the money. Well, we need to, we want to open up this or with this. We want to have this thing or we don't have the money. I'm like, let me just say this. When I got to the church in Ohio in August 2014, church was 54 years old at that time. I was the third pastor in 3 years. And the parking lot was like 23 years old. It was dilapidated. It was bad. And I was like, ugh. So they're saying, oh, pastor, we're going to pray God sends us a missionary to, I love you, Family of Faith, if you're watching this. They know me. God's going to send us a millionaire to pay our parking lot. I said, no, we're not going to pray that way. We will pay that parking lot, and then God will get all the glory for it. I'm not opposed to a millionaire coming in here and wanting to help us or whatever, but probably a millionaire won't even come near our borders of this church because we have a hook. We have a hook, and most churches and believers have a hook. Oh, that's why millionaires can't go to churches. They got to find churches that have millionaires. And the pastor doesn't have a hook. Like, oh, if we can get this guy in here, then maybe he'll do this or do that, or our tithe and offerings will go up. And so do you know, within about probably 3 years, we paid like $160,000 to repave our parking lot. Do you know what that meant to the community, that we paved it and it wasn't some millionaire paving it? I know that's a lot of information, but that's part of the transformational coaches, help flip the script in pastors and believers' minds that we're not orphans. God has not left us. Mary and Joseph had the money for the hotel room. There was just no room. Amen. They had the money. There was just no rooms available. That's why she had to go, get me off this donkey and get me in the cave. I don't care where. Ladies, if you had a baby, you know what I'm talking about. I don't care who's there. Just get this kid out of me, It wasn't because they didn't have the money. And the Roman soldiers at the foot of the cross, Jesus hadn't died yet, and they're going, oh, surely this must have been the Son of God. No, he's not died yet, but they're gambling for his garments. He must have had some pretty nice Nikes or something. I don't know what he had, but he had some pretty nice clothes that they're gambling for his stuff. It wasn't rags. It wasn't this burlap sack stuff he had on him. And then, God has streets of gold and pearly gates. I mean, what do we think? And it's supposed to be on earth as it is in heaven. And so the mindset and it used to be mine, but Leif really flipped that on Ray and I years ago, and I'm so thankful. But the mindset that we have that we're intended to be poor, and I did. I had to go back to my kids and who were raised on the mission field and apologize. I asked for forgiveness several years ago and go, please forgive me. I'm so sorry that I thought if we drove down Mexican roads with a Jeep that had a hole in the floorboard in the back that we were really holy.
And no, just the Jeep was holy.
Yeah, right.
There's these things that like we just need to, the transforming of our mind. And I love the concept of the transformational coach. Just share how people can get information about your program and where they can find your podcast.
Great. Okay. So as far as my ministry, LeanneGoffMinistries.org, you can actually go there and you can find information. You can go to my Facebook page. There's a tree link thing that you can actually do a health assessment. We do health assessments. We're not like, buy our food and good luck. No, we're not selling food. We don't have TV commercials like all the diets. It is a relationship driven with results program. And so LeanneGoffMinistries.org. As far as my podcast, you can find everything on my Facebook page as well, Leanne Goff Ministries. But you can also go to Charisma Media. That's where it's at, Charisma Media under their podcast. And you'll find my articles there as well as the podcast there. So I think that's pretty much, just look up Leanne Goff, the crazy woman that goes all over the world.
But I love it. But you really don't present yourself as anything more special than anyone else. You're a little girl with a big dad, and that's all of us.
Yeah. It's all level ground of the cross.
Yeah.
Nobody's better than anybody. I just learned some valuable lessons the hard way to get where I'm at today. It's not like I knew somebody. Yeah. I did, him, and he really began to change everything for me.
Amen. Well, make sure you check out the podcast. We just want to thank you for joining us on this episode. We want to thank Leanne for joining us and sharing all of this wisdom. Check out the podcast. I hope I already said that, but thank you for joining us on Adventures in One Love. Make sure that you like this video. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and make sure that you share what we're talking about with someone who needs transformation in their life. Make sure you share these messages with someone who you may not be able to say it to them, but just share the message. Maybe they're operating in that orphan spirit and they're belittling themselves. This is a way we can change that thinking, because we want people to want what we have, because we have the Savior of the world. Thanks for joining us, and God bless you. And remember, it starts with one, and it starts with you.